All right, we got double trouble today with both the Phillies and the Sixers playing, which is only going to happen so many times this year, so I'm just going to enjoy it when we can. Didn't get to watch the Phillies live because the only MLB, I get what's on ESPN and that's it. So I didn't get it. But on the NBA side, luckily, Sixers Heat was a national televised game, so I'll be able to talk about that more in depth. Also, it's the preseason, so there's again not as much to say on the Phillies side. It seems like the hitting is doing all right. We played the Pittsburgh Pirates yesterday, so again, not much to really be happy about. Again, Pittsburgh's not really that great of a team. But it seems like hitting wise, seems like Trey Turner is right there. Schwarber, at least it doesn't appear like anyone's going to be starting with a slump. Anyone important anyway. One thing I will mention, because it's a big part of the preseason that I have really enjoyed, is the pitch clock. I do think there are cases where it could be longer, like the start of at bats. Let the walk-up music play a little bit longer. Other things like that. But overall, I love the idea of the pitch clock. I think it should have been implemented years ago. And one thing that really made me happy, there was an interview. I don't know if it was yesterday when the Mets played, but there was an interview with Justin Verlander. Either Verlander or Scherzer, again can't remember which one, but one of them said that they actually like the pitch counter, keeping the game going, which is one side for pitchers that they actually get to enjoy. If they're feeling great, they get to just get back on the mound sooner than before. Obviously, they have to pick up the pace in which, they get set and everything, but realistically, it doesn't really take them that much time to do it. And you can kind of see with how most pitchers pitch, they're mostly just waiting for the batter to be ready and to get the green light to go. So I really like the fact that batters, they're just staying in the box and everything. It speeds up the game to a good pace. 2.5 hours, honestly, pretty good. Especially, with football takes about 3 hours. Basketball takes between 2.5 to 3 hours. So it gets to fit into the time frame of other sports, and I think that's great for the MLB. It lets the casual consumer be able to consume it more easily and not have to put away a certain amount of time to enjoy it. And again, less downtime makes them less bored. I can imagine some old fans are like, this is bad for the game, but, they don't know what they're talking about. When it comes to stuff like this, you're trying to get the casual consumer. You're not trying to get the hardcore consumers. I've said consumer way too many times at once. You're trying to get the casual fan, the people who, see the tickets for cheap on a random day and decide to go, and then maybe they buy a couple of things, a jersey, because the team happens to win. You're not trying to get the hardcore fans who are going to as many games as possible or watching as many games as possible on TV. So, that's the baseball side. We'll get to now onto the basketball side. Kind of a disappointing loss on the Sixers side. I say kind of because if we continued like we did in the first half, it would have been very disappointing. I think the fact, again, I'm a little more optimistic. I like to call myself the opto-realistic Philly fan. Obviously there are problems that we'll get to, but again, you took a bad start, 10 turnovers to their 4, in which they pretty much scored off of all of them. You take that and, you make it a 2-point game. That's pretty good. One thing that I know people were very disappointed about was how we closed out the game. We tried to close out with Joel in the post twice in a row, in which he didn't really get much. And some people find that very concerning. I am not, again, that concerned with it. One, he's going against Bam Adebayo, very good defender. So if you're concerned on the pick of what we choose to close with, that's fine. I would have personally preferred giving it to James Harden there. Obviously, if Tyrese Maxey didn't foul out, he would have been great. You have other choices, and you hope that with the other choices being there, that it would be a bit easier. Again, James Harden was there, Tyrese wasn't. And on top of that, the shots that Joel did get didn't look great. Even if, he can make those shots, I would have liked it to be more uniform looking, if that makes any sense. When he took his standard kind of mid-range, almost fadeaway mid-range, he looked so uncomfortable that I just knew it wasn't going in. If he did his typical turnaround fadeaway, mix of Dirk and Kobe like mid-range fade, I would have been more satisfied with, okay, he just happened to miss the shot, where it looks like he was forced into a bad shot and there was no chance it was going in. One thing that I think people aren't really talking about is the fact that I think the Heat are just a bad matchup for the Sixers. And I think that's kind of historically been the case since, Joel has been with the team. Not blaming Joel per se, but when it comes to, especially when you're playing a team, the first time or the first couple of times in a series, like they are going to, because they're playing the Heat again in a couple of days, the Sixers are really bad at starting out hot against teams that they know they can beat, especially when the teams are either hungry or really tough. And you could see that with the Heat going in. You have Jimmy Butler getting rebounds single-handedly, just not getting boxed out, against Tobias Harris, who is 3 inches taller than him, PJ Tucker, who is the same height as him, and Joel, who's half a foot taller than him. That shouldn't happen. Regardless, they showed a replay, and James Harden tried to leak out and kind of left those 3 to dry. But at the same time, Jimmy Butler shouldn't be getting those offensive boards, and he's not the only one. They were giving up offensive boards all the time, and that's been a constant problem. But you could just see the intensity shift between the first half and the second half of the game. Again, just because they realized, we really need to play against this team, as opposed to, the start where they were just like, all right, we're just going to roll out the ball and we should be good. And the reason why I say this has happened historically is because this has happened in almost every series, every first-round series where we have a higher seed. We have given up the first game more often than we've won, with Joel as our main guy. Last year might honestly be the first year where we haven't done that. Thinking about 2021, Washington. No, actually, we swept Washington, so that doesn't count. Okay, so we have 2 series, not counting the bubble, because I think we might have lost in the first round of the bubble. So, 2019, we played the Brooklyn Nets, the young Brooklyn Nets with D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert and Jared Dudley, where we lost the first game and then swept the rest. Hungrier, younger team. Same thing with Miami in 2018. We lost the first game and then we beat them the rest. That's just kind of how we have been when it comes to teams that we have regularly beat, or at least feel that we should beat. And you can, again, when we play a team that's better, like when we play a Milwaukee, when we play Denver Nuggets, when we play Boston, you can see, oh, look at the focus that they have from the jump. It's, not just from Joel, but just from everyone in general. You can just see a different level that they play at because they know, oh, this team will beat us if we just roll the ball out. So we have to go out as hard as we can. Whereas, again, for Miami Heat, I'm kind of nervous about this for the Knicks. If we were to go into the playoffs right now, I'd be worried that the Knicks are hungry enough to take a couple of games, and I would rather us, play as little as we have to in the first series. Toronto has always done this to us, but that's any of those teams that are young are either younger or just hungrier and just play harder, whether that's coaching or just the general culture. You've always been weak to those teams, and that's just how it's always been historically. Well, I will probably not be posting anything on the Phillies until they actually start the season, and even then, I might give it a couple games at a time, just so I actually have something to talk about. Obviously, baseball, things can change from a game-to-game basis. Kyle Schwarber being a perfect example, or Rhys Hoskins, he might go 0 for 5, and then the next day go 4 for 5, and then I'm just going to be flipping the switch. So I might give it a couple just so that way, if there's a pattern, I'll comment on the pattern. But if there is, a bit of flip-flopping, I can wait on it a little bit. Again, baseball is a bit more random. I mean, I shouldn't say random because obviously they're professionals, they're good at what they do, but it's a bit more, it's a bit harder to gauge what's going on immediately. So we'll see how that goes when the season starts. But since it's preseason, I'm probably not going to post any more about them, just because, there's not much to really talk about. In the preseason, they're going to play for, get 2 at-bats, play for a couple innings, and then get subbed. So, that's how it works in preseason, any sport, not just baseball, football, basketball. That's how the preseason goes. So, probably won't comment too much on that, but I'll look forward in the next couple of days. I believe we play, I believe it's the Heat, and then the next day we play the Mavs. So, might condense that into one, might do 2 separate, depending on if one was a win and one was a loss and it was clearly different, might switch that, but we'll see. But hey, if you subscribe, then you'll know, so it doesn't matter either way. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, of course. It's free, but you don't have to. I shouldn't say it like that. It sounds like I'm like those Twitch streamers back in 2019. Nah, you don't have to do anything. I'm just hoping that everyone enjoys. So, see you guys soon.